So first we have the approval of the Sanitary Board minutes. Can
Is
I
that
have-
special meeting? I move that they be approved.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Um, Next, we have the Sanitary Board MS4 petitions, communications, and public hearing. Is there anybody in the gallery that would like to speak? I'm not seeing any, so we'll move on to updates for the Milford Street area upgrades, Arlington, and both phases of that. V-A and V-B, please.
I'll take the first one, the Milford Street upgrades. We had our final walkthrough today with the contractor, and we put together a punch list of some additional items they need to address before final payment. Working with Johnny on that, and just a couple of settlement issues, and the contractor needs to come back and install one more drop inlet, and we should be pretty good off there, and that one should be able to be closed out next month.
Perfect, thank you. Next, we have the Arlington Sewer Extension.
Okay, I'll take the next three.
Thank you.
Arlington, we did have our call with the Army Corps of Engineers and put together a schedule. We have pushed our design submission will be, our first design submission will be August of 2024 to the Army Corps. We have to get everything in their specifications and their format, which is a real headache, quite frankly, but that's what the money requires, so that's what we'll do. So that will be, I would like to add one thing to the Milford area. At the next meeting, we will have asked for an amendment, engineering amendment. It actually is reducing the fees. I haven't had a chance to run it through your council yet, but we went over a little bit on the inspection, but our I&I was a lot less, so it's actually going to be a $3,000 savings or so. But I want to clear it with Mr. Stranko before I present it to the board next month.
Thank you.
On Phase 5A, we're continuing our I&I investigations. As you know, we found a rather large hole in one of our, what was it, about 2 weeks ago we found that or something like that. The city has been repairing that. We have done most of our camera work on the side streets. I know we're working with Johnny to get set up some traffic control so we can get on the main arteries and see where everything is connected in. I think they were finishing up the side streets today. And then we are planning on bringing Snyder Environmental sub to us to start probably at the end of this month some of the camera work on the areas away from our project area and stuff. So the other thing, we are about to revise the facility plans for A and B. We're moving the project around a little bit so that we can concentrate on A with all the work we have to do to make keep in front of the paving. We're going to put all that work in one contract along with the interceptor and move all the EEG money that we are getting from the state. On Friday, Clarksburg was awarded another $1 million in EEG money. It was voted on Friday afternoon. And I talked to Marie Prozioso, who heads the WDA. She is fine. She'll have to run it through her board with us putting all that in the downtown area right now. And then the second phase, which is under design as well, will include some areas where we have to cross over CSX. That permitting process is a long process, and I don't want it to hold up any of the stuff we're doing in the paving area or the EEG, and it will also include all the stuff at the plant. So the size of the project is relatively the same. It's just been moved around a little bit. Some of the money we're trying to project savings with the paving we're using to explore other areas that may need lined or something like that that were out of our project area, but the council wanted us to look a little farther to see if we see problems like we have in the past. So we're reorientating that a little bit, but it's moving.
Thank you.
Any questions or anything?
Next, we have the consideration to approve an agreement with Schneider Environmental Services for $580 an hour, not to exceed $23,200 to repair the sewer line at the bus garage.
I will so move to get it on the floor.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Question? That 23,000, I think, is that lower than what our estimate was? Or did we know what our estimate was?
When
Normally, when Johnny and I first put the estimate together, we'd said it was probably gonna be in the $40,000 to $50,000 range.
Yeah.
This is the beginning phase. We don't have enough information to really say what we're gonna have to do after we get the floor fixed and make the other investigations. And at that time, probably either in March or April, we'll come back and let you know what the
So it's
rest
like a
of the story
two-phase
is.
deal then, so there'll be additional cost involved.
Yes.
there. That's
Any-
all the question I had.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Next, we have the consideration to review and sign the agreement with the WVDOH to accept and maintain the relocated sewer line associated with the Hayman Highway Bridge replacement.
Also move.
I'll second.
Further discussion?
A discussion, is this, I guess, I don't know, if it goes to Johnny or who, but is this relocate,
I
are
sta-
you
I stayed here.
relocating the
That's
sewer
why I stayed
lines?
up here.
Is this relocating the sewer
Yes,
lines on the bridge?
under the bridge, there's some sewer lines, and the bridge will have to build the bridge, the sewer line has to be relocated. Department of Highways is doing that as part of the project. This agreement would authorize us to sign that we will take care of it and maintain it afterwards.
Is the bridge, I mean, when's the bridge scheduled for replacement?
The bridge is scheduled right now. This is probably one of the last little puzzle pieces to get it out and to get it under bid. They're planning on bidding it in March, which would mean then it'd take them about 60 days probably to get it awarded. So that would be probably May, and probably around August, they would actually start construction. They have some muscles that they have to remove and some environmental things that the contractor will have to take care of. It's under part of the contract. But this is,
So that's going to go to bid in March, that's great.
that either March or April. They're hoping in March.
And this, when we approve this should take care of the lines, this should cover
Yes,
this?
that means that they're gonna build the lines after a year and a day, then they will turn them back over to us, and then it'll be our responsibility to maintain them.
Well, is this totally within their right of way?
This is within the different right-of-ways for the public water owned parts of the right-of-way and also they had, the state road has, or we'll have an easement across it, it's our bridge. And so we'll have an easement across it, but it's public waters. I forget what's that called, Dan? Navigable streams or whatever, so. Okay, but it is a public waters. Okay? I figured you might have a question, so I stayed up.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Next, we have reports. Mr. Linville, did you have anything?
Just a couple things, personal things. I'm gonna miss the March meeting. I'll be traveling. And the second thing is my appointment is up next March.
Okay.
And I will not be seeking reappointment.
Okay.
And so that gives you a year to find another professional engineer.
Thank you.
to Place me. So.
Appreciate that. Mr. Ferrari?
I have nothing.
Drew?
The discharge monitoring report was submitted for the month of January 2024. No violations to report. The process treated approximately 315 million gallons of wastewater. We received an additional 161,350 gallons of septic. And we generated $7,451.50 in revenue. Last month, the new number 2 and number 3 main raw pump AFTs were installed and they're operational. Sitco was also there in January to repair our SCADA system for our main gate controls. Number 2 final clarifier drive has failed. We have parts on the order and we're expecting them to be here in the next couple of days. Cost for those parts were $10,200 and we'll repair that ourselves. Number 3 final clarifier drive has been repaired as well. We found faulty wiring in the underground conduit. And thanks Johnny and his guys coming over and digging up the old line for us, and we ran new conduit and new wire for the drive. I've also set up upcoming testing in the next couple of months to begin the process of the renewal of the NPDES permit. I'll be working with Mr. Franco on completing this application by the November 2024 deadline. And that is all I have.
Thank you.
Just a question.
Yes.
The SCADA, is that all up and running now? Everything in good shape, or what?
As good as it can be right now.
As good as it can be.
I'm not jinxing it.
Oh, okay. All right, I won't ask anymore then.
Johnny?
Just want to fill you in on the void that was found on Main Street by the Rashlers down at the intersection of Ferry.
Could you come up to the mic to,
Don't be shy.
thank you.
Just wanted to fill you in on the void so you have some idea. So the void was found by Thrashers when they're doing this line inspections for this project coming up for the paving. The void itself was 12 foot deep. It was about 14 feet wide, and it went from one lane to the other. So it was a total collapse of a 12-inch sanitary and two 10-inch storm lines. I mean, total collapse. In this area is where that 48-inch tile line, sewer line is, so it's a pretty sensitive area to be working in. The void itself, it took 85 tons of gravel to fill that void, 20 cubic yards of concrete, and 11 tons of asphalt to finish that void. We completed it in 30 hours from start to finish. Just
Thank
kind of
you.
want to give you an idea, because we may find one of those. As they keep running this camera down this street, there may more of those be found. So, and I'm working on getting a total cost of what the job cost us as soon as I get the rest of the invoices in.
Before you sit down, I just, on behalf of myself and council and the city, we want to thank you and your Public Works Department and Waste for dealing with that so quickly and all the interaction on our website and social media to let the public know what's going on. I saw that hole. It was massive, and for our departments to deal with that so quickly and professionally within 30 hours and getting that rectified, I think is just, you guys deserve a big thanks, so thank you so much.
Appreciate
Great
it.
job, great job.
I'll pass that on to the crews. Thank you.
But I'd like to have that on the record as well.
Tim? How are
Madam
you?
Chair, gentlemen, I'm approaching 6 months in my tenure as your general counsel, and I just want to echo the chair's observations about your dynamic duo of Drew and John. They just do a terrific job. I struggle to find ways to add value because they're that good, but we'll keep working on that. Two things I wanted to talk to you about today. Both I'd ask the chair to move to the agenda for the next meeting. The first is a new leak adjustment policy. Subject to your guidance, the last time we spoke about this, staff has created a uniform policy that applies to everybody across the board as far as our retail customers go. Now, this policy does not apply where we are serving a wholesale customer. But for all of our directly billed retail customers, the policy is the same for everybody. The threshold is if more than 200% of water is consumed in any billing period above their historical average, we'll consider that an extraordinary event, and the treasurer is the one with the authority under this policy to look at what happened in the surf structure. If we know that the water has not been returned to the sewer, if we're sure of that, then we will look at their historical average and bill them sewer service for their historical water usage. If the water is returning to the sewer, and as an aside, if there's a floor drain in the structure, we will presume that the water is going into the sewer. Presumption, of course, can be contradicted by fact, and the treasurer will have to look into that, and she'll get help from Drew and John on this as to see whether the water came into the sewer. If it did, we'll bill the customer at the regular rate for the historic consumption, and the excess consumption will be billed at the marginal rate of cost of service. That is, that we won't lose any money. The PSC rate is $1 per thousand. Drew's looked at that and agreed that that's the rate we'll go for now. So that is the incremental cost of service. So in other words, for those customers who are putting excess water into the sewer, they'll still pay for the cost of treatment, but they're not going to pay for the labor overheads, the additives, all the other things that are into our rate base. So that gives them a bit of a break with regard to this extraordinary event. So that's the leak adjustment policy. It's been, this policy has been widely used across the state. I'm confident that it will be approved by the PSC. Now, we don't have to file specifically to get this approved, but the next time we run a tariff, we'll include this in the tariff And that's where it belongs. But if you choose at the next meeting to approve the policy, then that will be implemented by the treasurer. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. The second one's a little more complicated. As you know, we have 7 partner utilities, 3 municipalities and 4 PSDs. Each of those has to have a sewer service agreement. You heard Drew mention the NPDES permit renewal. This will be looked for. So we need to have these done as we renew the permits. What is a sewer service agreement? This is required for every one of our partner jurisdictions. And it's an inter-utility agreement, so the PSC would have to approve each of these. The form that we're using is one that's been routinely approved by the Public Service Commission, so both I and your staff are not concerned about PSC objections. Objections from the partner utilities, well, that's a different thing. You know better than I the working relationship we have, some good, some bad. But this agreement will clearly define the duties and the rights and responsibilities of both parties. For us, it gives us upstream control. And I think Drew's already done a great job with that, but this formalizes that there's an industrial user upstream, they've got to comply with our rules, discharging into our system. And we have the right to go upstream and inspect and see what's being discharged into even our partner utilities, because it's all coming, as you know, downstream to us. There's a lot of reporting and information exchange built into the agreement so that everybody knows Drew's expectations of what he can treat at the plant, as we're, also with regard to John and what we're transmitting through the system. The staff has looked at this. We agreed with this draft, so hopefully you'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting and you'll approve that as well. Now that, of course, just the beginning. Then we've got to reach out to these 7 sister utilities and present the agreement and negotiate the agreement. What I'm hoping is that we have a standard agreement. This agreement, again, has been broadly used across the state. I've used it for a number of my other clients. So I don't suppose it should be too controversial. So with your approval at the next meeting, then we'll pivot, get these out to the other utilities and start negotiating the
Do we not have 9? I
agreements.
thought we had 9. We only have 7.
My count is 7, Drew, am I right?
7, unless you're counting the nursing home and stuff.
I have Anmore, Stonewood, and Utterford are the 3 municipalities. Sun Valley, Eastview, Summit Park, and Greater Harrison are the 4 PSDs.
Is there any name more in there?
Anmore's
Okay,
one of
you
them,
name Anmore?
yes, sir.
Okay.
So hopefully, Kelly's got the hard copies of these. She can send them to you and they'll be out for the, hopefully you'll move that to the agenda for the next meeting. And that'll give us plenty of time to get these done
Can you email
and
them
ready
to us
for the
before
permit,
meeting?
and ready for the permit renewal.
Okay.
So some of those municipalities have combined sewer systems like we have. Some have separate systems. Is there a way of accounting for that?
No, sir. But, we bill based on metered flow at the interconnection point, I think, for all the municipalities, if that's correct. So we're accounting for it in that way. Thank you.
I don't know if this relates to it or not, but when I was here, we used to get requests when they would, on the metering, they would say, well, they had X amount of water loss because of their lines were, like Anmore had a part, is that completely gone now, no water loss?
There's
Whatever
no
it
water
is.
loss for
Okay.
these. And the idea is to motivate them to tighten up their systems.
Okay.
But we've got to bill them what we do for them. So there's no breaks for the bulk customers. Retail, perhaps, as I've described in the leak adjustment policy. Thank you.
Dan?
Nothing else.
Anthony? Tom? Ashley?
That report is very,
Well,
I guess also one thanks appreciation to Public Works for filling that hole, John. Tell me how holes like that form, was that a leak from the sewer line? Is that how that eroded that away?
I would say, this is based on experience and all, education knowledge, which will take based on experience. I would say we had another utility failure in there at some point in time. And when they went into their repair, they always started the undermining process of our sewer pipes. And once that happens, it'll tear apart the line. It collapses. Once it begins to open, then it grows from there. And the outgoing line in this area goes down to CSO 15 is a 48-inch pipe. So that's a very good sized pipe. It can suck down a lot of material pretty fast. The line itself's pretty impressive. If you get a chance, you'll see the video. Consider this brick laid, 48-inch pipe, been in the ground over 100 years.
Wow.
Perfectly right. It's unbelievable.
Being at the location, tell me a little bit about how that works with, was the state get involved in anything like that, or?
So, first call we made after the contractor notified us, and the first call we next day was the state, the state about 20, the state not.
Sure.
So the name got us out there. We had to do a permit process, which is pretty simplified now for us. And they're notified, and then we had a traffic control plan, which we came up with the next day, get traffic control, detour routes. And of course, getting the whole machinery, materials there. And once we get a lot of place, we would solve it up close. The state, basically, they advise us, but as far as any of the work system, they're hands off. It's all pipe systems, it's all failures, it's all need to repair it. Now, it has to be repaired to state specs. So they have a state inspector that comes out the whole time to that. Sort of, you're following their guidelines, and back to their specifications.
I appreciate your hard work.
And-
Looked like a doozy.
Madam Chair, can I mention something before we adjourn? First of all, if Mark's not gonna be at the next meeting, and he, with what we're voting on, it'd be good, for all of us to be involved. Maybe we could change the date to accommodate Mark to have the meeting. I don't know when. I'm pretty flexible if Kelly would touch base with me.
I'll be back the 14th of March.
Okay, we can schedule it after. The second thing is, I would like for this, I know the budget's due May 15th, and I would like probably in April, even before the meeting, whatever, I like to get the proposed budget. I like for Drew and Johnny to be here. I would like to, have like a work session on the budget rather than, just get it. And basically, because there's a lot of things you can look at it, and, you'd like to know some information behind some of the numbers.
Sure.
So if we could do that, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
That's all I have.
We'll do both of those. Thank you. Do I have a motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.